Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Climathon Houston 2021 edition of Ask Me Anything with Grace Rodriguez and Michelle Avalos. I'm Ann Wynn, a member of the digital marketing team at Impact Hub Houston, and super excited to have you guys here today and joining us and learning all there is to know about Climathon 2021 and how you can participate. But first, I want to ask Grace and Michelle to briefly introduce themselves.
Thank you so much, Anne, for hosting this and for moderating. And I'm Grace Rodriguez, co-founder and executive director of Impact Hub Houston. I'll keep it quick.
Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Avalos, co-founder and deputy director at Impact Hub Houston.
Awesome. Well, let's get into it. So Climathon Houston 2021 kickoff is Monday, October 25th. So I'd love for you to share a little history about Climathon, Grace. I believe it started in 2019, right? With the
Yes.
city's climate action program or plan, excuse me.
Yeah, so Climathon Houston started in 2019 because we started in 2018. But Climathon as a global hackathon for climate action has been taking place over a few years now. I think I want to say at least 5 or 6 years now. But Impact Hub as a global network participates as a community partner for the Climathon. And so when we had the opportunity to launch something, to launch the Climathon in Houston, obviously, we jumped on it because Houston is energy capital of the world, and it just makes sense that with all of the brains and talent and innovative ideas that exist here, we should be able to send some hopeful winners to the Global Climathon Awards and maybe take this home for Houston.
That would be awesome, right? To have this win for Houston. And so, would you share a little bit how, I guess, it would play into the climate action plan that the city of Houston has created?
Sure. So around the same time, as you were saying, the mayor's office of sustainability launched the Houston Climate Action Plan, and that was developed by a lot of community stakeholders. So it wasn't developed just by the city itself. They held roundtables and town halls to make sure that a lot of different members of the community, a lot of different neighborhoods around the entire Houston area were also included and engaged in the development of that climate action plan. And so you can see, if you go to the City of Houston's website, if you Google it too, if you go to the climathonhouston.org website, the link is right there, or the URL is right there. There's a link to that climate action plan from our own website, so you'll be able to read it and get more of the details on it. But basically, the idea is how do we help make sure that Houston is much more resilient and that we're able to respond quickly to some of the challenges that climate change has wreaked upon Houston. We have major hurricanes and flooding every year on top of record-breaking heat, it seems like, every summer. And sometimes we have droughts, and a lot of different, because Houston is so large geographically, we have different kinds of climates, it seems like, in different parts of Houston. So you have some that are always inundated with water and have a lot of humidity, and then also have to deal with a lot of mosquitoes and West Nile virus and everything else that comes from that. But then you have some places that are super arid, and you have a lot of vegetation dying, and the land becoming less fertile because of that layer of topsoil has been damaged. So there's just like so many different things. And then you have development, right? And with a lot of streets being paved over, a lot of wetlands and natural habitats being paved over, you have this impact on the environment that then ultimately impacts us too, right? So there's just so many issues that I feel like if we can solve some of these issues that are here in Houston, those solutions can actually spread to other parts of the world that are also experiencing that too. And then with the chief sustainability officer being hired, and then trying to push the climate action plan forward, engage more of the community. That's when we were able to step in and work with them in 2019, and then hold the first Climathon Houston in the old HTC and currently Houston Exponential building in Midtown. And then obviously last year it was virtual because of the COVID pandemic. And so we were really grateful to be community partners with Greentown Labs, and they sponsored the remote platform for us, which is what we're going to be using for Climathon next week.
Awesome. And so when we think about climate challenges and climate change, it's such a global concept, and but this drives it home for us. And you made some very good points that we're such a huge diverse area, that we do have different climate challenges, even from the north side of town to the south side of town. And if you're watching this, whether now or on the video replay, please feel free to drop in a comment or a question about how you too can participate in Climathon and further initiatives down the road. It's not just simply about Climathon. And you mentioned Remo, the platform. So I'm going to ask Michelle to share a little bit of the logistics with us for next week and how people can join.
Yes. So as Grace mentioned, we are going to be using the Remo platform. Again, it's our version of trying to replicate in person. When you enter the platform, the event will kick off at 12 p.m. on Monday. But when you enter the Remo platform, you'll see a series of tables that are set up with chairs, and you get to pop in and out of tables and start connecting with people. And then when we kick off our programming, we'll have an actual stage, so you'll get to see the presentations and interact. So sorry, they're mowing.
Oh, that's okay. They're mowing. No, it's actually fine. It's really not that bad.
But you'll get to move around. So as we begin and we start presenting the challenges that are going to be worked on, we're also going to open the floor for anyone else to pitch their ideas. What would you like to work on? Or are you already working on something, but you need help and you want to build a team to help you build that solution and then have it ready to submit for before the deadline for the Climathon. And so as you go through,
hey,
hey,
awesome. Hey, Kevin.
How's it going? So did we start at 11:30, not 12?
We did, and that was sorry. I had changed the calendar invite, and for some reason it did not change. It still showed 12. So
okay. Sorry.
No worries. Michelle's talking about the logistics for Monday.
You'll be able to do that move around. And then after we are done with the challenge lightning round, then that'll be your opportunity to start building your teams. And so like it happens in person, you will be able to move around from table to table until you find that right group of people that you want to work with. And you are able to align on a particular challenge together. And so after we're done with Monday, with the session on Remo, we're actually going to transition everybody over to Discord. And so we've actually used Discord for our Houston Hackathon last month. And we've transitioned that platform to now be accessible to everybody that's going to participate in our Climathon that kicks off next week.
Awesome. And I think is that DevPost URL is the one that will help them get to Discord, Grace, that you had shared with me.
Yeah, as long as people sign up to register, whether it's on Eventbrite or DevPost, they'll get the emails. We prefer that everybody signs up through Eventbrite because it's easier to automate those emails out to them. But ultimately, they'll have to upload their projects at the end of the week on DevPost. So they'll still need to have an account there, and that'll be for the judging. And I don't know if you want to know more about the challenges, or actually, let's say hi to Kevin.
Yes, let's say hi to Kevin. Kevin, would you introduce yourself briefly to everyone?
Yeah. So hi, everybody. Kevin Doffing. I am a board member with Impact Hub, and I help out with the Climathon the last couple of years. I've done a few things in the energy transition. I help out with Greentown Labs a fair bit, and I was the co-founder for the Renewable Energy Alliance, which is a trade group for renewables in town. And I advise a lot of different clean tech startups, as well as being an executive in residence for the Rice Clean Energy Accelerator. I'm the chief commercial officer for a renewable field services company called Everpoint Services. And there's probably some other stuff, but it's not important.
Awesome. Well, thank you. We're glad that you're able to join us this morning. We just kind of gotten started with a little bit of history about Climathon, and Michelle was going into the logistics of how people can participate. And so now I know we wanted to move into discussing what the challenges are for Climathon Houston 2021. And Kevin, would you like to get started with that piece of information for us?
I would love to. And I think Grace has thrown me a softball by helping me pull it up in the chat.
Well, I'll just reiterate while he's pulling that up.
Perfect.
As Michelle said earlier, that you're also welcome to bring, the general public is welcome to bring your own idea, challenge, or solution that you're currently working on. If you want to build a team around it, if you want to present it to see if anybody would be interested in helping you with your work. But in addition to that, we have a few challenges that the global network provides and a few challenges that the city of Houston will provide. And now I'll pass it to Kevin.
Yeah, I'm ready. All right. So, if you're not familiar with, Houston has a climate action plan that came through the mayor's office that was announced last year on Earth Day. So, that's a big point of focus that we want to tie in with, as well as the, sustainable development goals that the UN has and how climate change, the Climathon, the global has these goals that Grace mentioned. So if you go to, houston.impacthub.net/Climathon. You can see everything RSVP. And again, the Climathon challenges at a high level, we have 4: energy transition, materials management, building optimization, and regional resiliency. So you can provide your own or nominate your own if you don't like what you have, but we want to try and keep everybody focused. And we feel like these are 4 really good ones to keep everyone going. Now, to elaborate, energy transition is about the shift from extractive to regenerative energy production, capture and distribution technologies. So these are transmission, grid edge, distributed technologies, as well as restoring, protecting, and enhancing Houston's natural ability to capture and store carbon. I know that the CCUS, or the carbon capture, utilization and sequestration technology, as well as hydrogen, are 2 of the big priorities here in town for a lot of corporations. On the materials management side, we're talking about reducing waste production or optimizing waste operations. FYI, if you have a way to do sorting at the mega scale on plastics, the Great Houston Partnership would love to talk to you. I know I've got a call with them next week to discuss that. Also reuse and upcycle materials into useful products to lengthen lifespan and keep materials out of streets and landfills, as well as recycling materials into efficient energy or new raw materials for manufacturing and production. On the building optimization side, we're really talking about reducing building energy, the use and maximizing those savings of energy usage, and increasing the healthfulness and utility of existing buildings for sustainable community use. And then when we talk about regional resilience, what we're talking about is addressing clean water, the access, retention, and even flooding issues, accelerating clean urban mobility, and engaging more people in building better habits that promote a cleaner, greener community. And that's really the focus for our 4 main challenges. And so always happy to take any questions that folks have on that. And we're really excited on the ideas that come out of these challenges.
No, that sounds wonderful. And then you also mentioned if they have a project that doesn't really fit in the bill with any of those challenges, they're welcome to bring it to Climathon as well, right?
Right. Yeah. Think of these 4 challenges as a way to just, I'm not the person you give a blank page and I paint you a work of art. I work within, boundaries, and I take the tools that are on the table. I'm not that imaginative. So for anyone else that's like me, this is just helping you frame things out a little bit. But if you're the artistic, creative, I have a bold idea, knock yourself out.
No, I totally understand. I like framework as well. Give me something to start with, right? No, that's great. And I think one of the things too is that, and Michelle, you may have mentioned this, you don't necessarily have to have a team already to participate. You can come on in, meet folks, and decide this is the project that I want to work on. In fact, I believe Paresh Patel, who is part of the winning team, or one of the winning teams at Intergrid last year, that's what he mentioned when we talked to him, was that he came to a Climathon and found his people and joined a team, and they were one of the winning ones for Intergrid. And in fact, we've got a blog post on our site talking about Intergrid and what's been going on with them for the last year. And I'll drop the link in the comments as well, so that you guys can, get updated on our winning team from last year. So out of those challenges, Kevin and Grace, which one do you think would be a priority, or kind of like your favorite challenge, and what would you like to see?
I'm all about energy transition. So that's a no-brainer for me. So renewable energy, I'm not anti oil and gas, but I do believe we have to clean it up. And I haven't seen a net zero, model nationally or globally that doesn't include oil and gas involved in it. But, we do need to make sure we're not making things worse as we make things better.
And let's see, I'll follow up. I had a good conversation with Jesse Bounds, who's the Director of Innovation for the City of Houston. And we were talking about some of the big priorities for Houston. So, in addition to energy transition, materials management is one. You've heard a lot about reduce, reuse, recycle. Well, that's kind of what that weighs into. How can we think of a lot of the outputs? I mean, some people call that waste, but some people might call that, new materials. So how do we convert some of those materials that are outputs into inputs for other processes or other things that the city could actually use? One great example of that was one of last year's winners, Duct Walk. It was a team led by Charlotte Craft, right, with 3D, and they were recycling plastics to create pavers and for streets that are actually porous and so that don't contribute to flooding and all of that. So there are ways of creating new materials from old materials that are also much more sustainable in a number of ways. So that's one. Building optimization is another one, and that's there's so many assets that the city has in terms of community centers and buildings and stuff like that, and they're trying to make sure how can they be greener, like more environmentally friendly, both outside and inside, in terms of energy consumption, and then also for the people that are in them, because some of them are really old and need to be retrofitted. So that's another part of it. And then regional resilience. How do you make sure that the communities that have experienced some of the greatest impacts from climate change, and then also from the slow energy transition in those neighborhoods, you've seen like the explosions and water pollution and those types of things in communities east and southeast of Houston. So how can we make sure that those types of negative impacts don't happen to them, and that they also are able to access clean water? And then, kind of how do we mitigate water? I know there's a lot of conversation these days about resiliency that focuses on water management and mitigation. So that's a huge issue. And like for me personally, mobility is, I think that if we can get better solutions for public transportation and transportation in general. I saw an article in the Chronicle recently that there are more accidents and more deaths now than ever before because people forgot how to drive during COVID. And then some of the people who were driving during COVID, because the streets were so clear, people were going much faster and they haven't slowed down. So people are not driving this in the same way as they used to. And then also people are still paying attention to their phones, whether it's for directions or for communicating with somebody that they're going to reach. It's just like, how do we build better habits so that everybody is safe and healthy and happy? I think that's part of mobility. It's just building better habits too.
Yeah, and I wanted to say hello to Randy. He joined us. So, hi, Randy. Thank you for joining us and tuning in. I'm going to pop up his comment here real quick. So I have tried to engage the new green thing in the Inno district on Waste Streams.
I assume by green thing, you're talking about Greentown Labs in the Innovation District. I think so. It's interesting. This is how one of the reasons why Impact Hub Houston is partners with Greentown Labs Houston, because Greentown Labs is it's an accelerator and incubator for energy transition companies and clean tech startups. They're not necessarily engaged with community activation and are necessarily at the idea stage of that, but they do know that that's part of the pipeline, right? So that's why one of the reasons why they support us also is to make sure that we are able to help more people come up with those ideas and solutions to the challenges, and then help them maybe wrap a business model around it, so that they can then apply to a Greentown Labs in the future and access mentors like Kevin.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that information. I hope that helps Randy. And Michelle, did you have a particular challenge that you would like to see a project for?
Yeah, well, I wanted to add on one of the pieces around building optimization. when I was a student at U of H and we did our very first office visit, is what we would call it with HBSA, we went to visit the BP offices off of the Energy Corridor, I guess. I forgot what that area is called. But I remember being extremely impressed because they shared everything that they do in that building to just try to be the most efficient as possible, and environmentally friendly as possible. And the first thing I thought of was like, why isn't everybody doing this? And so we literally spend our like first generation college students, you graduate, you go into corporate America or entrepreneurship, you spend a majority of your days inside of these buildings that are old. And as I don't know, I'm not the only Houstonian that suffers from allergies now. And so sometimes these buildings, the air quality in there, the structure everything that you don't see above you is contributing to that. And so to me, that's something it's something that should be fixed. Doesn't seem like a big red flag because you don't see it. It's like what's in the air, you don't know. So out of sight, out of mind, but your body is being impacted by that. So that one would be an area where I'd be interested to see some solutions around.
No, I agree with you. I used to work for the Houston Chronicle, and that building was two very old buildings smashed together with asbestos in there. And so my allergies were horrible during my time working in that building. So I absolutely understand. And that's very similar to, I think, one of our accelerated members, Mac CX, is his project, or his company is focused on this and helping municipalities, everybody, to build companies that are beyond just meeting the minimum code. And in fact, it's one of the things he talked about too when we got a chance to talk to him. So shout out to David McLean and MicMac CX. Awesome. Well, is there any other information that you would like the teams or participants to know about Climathon? And definitely, we encourage everyone, there's still time to RSVP and register because it is a virtual event. So that's one of the great things about virtual events. You can sign up even just a few days ahead of time. But any other advice or tips or information that we would like to share with everyone?
I do want to respond to the one comment that Randy posted. Houston needs at least one B Corp metal recycler. So we do have a metal recycling company called Southwest Metal Recycling Houston, or that's their website, southwestmetalrecyclinghouston.com. And the founder of that, she's actually an African-American woman. And I understand that from friends who have gone through the B Corp certification, that it is very burdensome. And not everybody can afford to do it, and not everybody has the time to do it. But so they're not a B Corp, but they're definitely a women and minority owned business. And they are looking to raise awareness for what they do because they also support their community, right? So they do a lot of community engagement and activation. And a lot of people just don't know that they exist. So yeah, southwestmetalrecyclinghouston.com is the website.
Yeah, and I would just say for anybody that's looking to get engaged, if you've ever done another hackathon or anything like that where you have a deliverable product, this is more of like an ideathon. So don't get too worked up about having a final deliverable that you could pitch for money or anything like that. You're really building a concept. So don't be afraid to dream big. As my daughter's Disney Channel always says, dream big, princess. And I'm a big believer in that. So, just don't try to worry about like, what can I implement tomorrow, but think big. As you go through the follow-up process, you may find that, you have to scale back, you build out a roadmap or whatever. But at this point, think big, think exciting, and let that kind of be your guiding star. And I think you'll come up with some really interesting stuff that will inspire a lot of people.
Yeah, following up on that, I wanted to say that that's exactly it. I know Michelle has talked about this before too, where you showing up and then just helping people organize their thoughts can be tremendously helpful. And the way we judge the solutions, it doesn't really have to do with the tech. It's really about the impact and how deep you thought about the solution, how many different communities is it going to reach, And how scalable is it in terms not necessarily of revenue, but of adoptability for people in other communities? So if your solution is something that's policy based, or again, like helping people build better habits, that's something that somebody in another part of the world who doesn't have high speed internet access, for instance, or technology, they can still adopt it, and that means that you'll rank higher in scalability and impact.
And then for all of the information and to RSVP and register for the event, climathonhouston.org. And we also have the schedule on that website as well. Kickoff is on October 25th, and then the schedule is for the remainder of the week. And I believe we're announcing winners on November 1st, correct? So stay tuned. We'll be announcing it live as well, because on our Facebook channel and YouTube channel.
And I have one last thing, Anne. I'm
Yeah.
sorry that I know that we're a little about to go over time.
No, we're fine. We can, please.
Okay, so I wanted to announce, and I don't know if people who are listening might not receive our community newsletter, but a member of our community who's very dear to us, Dakota Stormer, passed away this past year. And to honor him, he's been a part of the Impact Hub community for a while, and he's been creating impact even longer than that. He's a founder and CEO of the Footprint app. He actually spoke at the last Climathon, and I think Anne will be able to drop that into the chat. But thanks to the sponsorships of Syzygy Labs and Syzygy Plasmonics, and Halliburton Labs, I was trying to fuse them to one. We're able to provide the Dakota Stormer Footprint Prize in his honor, and that's to just honor his legacy. He was definitely a very spirited, lovely, energetic person who wanted to change the world, and has changed the world by leaving a legacy, and by continuing his team continuing his work through My Footprint app. But we are going to provide two prizes of $500 each. One will be the judges' prize, or the judges and organizers' prize, for the person who has contributed the most and who has maybe the most impactful idea and has been most supportive of the community, as Dakota was. And the second one will be the People's Choice Prize. And you'll learn more about that towards the end of the week, and when voting will open for those two honorees.
No, thank you. My apologies for not bringing up the Dakota Stormer Award sooner, and the YouTube link, and I'll drop it in the comments as well, is when Dakota was presenting last year, as you mentioned. And I never got to meet him, but hearing you guys talk about him is just inspiring. And it makes me sad that the world has lost someone that amazing. All right. Randy, did you have any additional questions, or anyone else? And if you're watching this replay, please feel free again to drop any comments or questions. We will be sure to get back with you. And then for all of the information that you want to know about Climathon and the schedule and how to register and RSVP and join us, climathonhouston.org. It's all there. And then, of course, please continue to follow our social media channels. We'll be updating information as well. And if you want to stay up to date with everything and all things Impact Hub Houston, we do have a contact form on our website as well at houston.impacthub.net, where we will be sure to continue to update you on events and other things going on with Impact Hub Houston. And let's see. Randy said he's energy short, but he is trying. Thank you for joining us, Randy. Thank you, Grace, Michelle, and Kevin, for sharing all of the information this morning. I'm looking forward to being part of Climathon Houston this year, and just kind of being there and seeing all the different projects. It was fun to get to be involved with Houston Hackathon, and so I'm really looking forward to this event as well. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And again, please feel free to drop in any questions or comments even after the live stream. We'll be sure to get back to you, and we'll see you soon. We'll definitely see you for kickoff on Monday for Climathon Houston 2021. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.